Part 3. The Rise of the Vengeful King. The elimination of Cole was merely the overture, an act that immediately thrust Raven into the crosshairs of the new Arathian Empire under Emperor Leonhardt. The bounty on the Black Reaper was unprecedented, describing him as an extremely dangerous traitor and a supernatural anomaly. Leonhardt, furious at the public display of weakness and the defiant mark left behind, demanded swift retribution. Royal forces, utilizing potent thunder mana, cornered Raven in a desolate ravine. Though his eternal darkness power was vast, Raven's new hybridized body hadn't fully acclimated to the raw intensity of the mana, leading to a calculated tactical capture, a necessary step. Raven grimly realized to plant a seed of chaos at the Empire's core. He was swiftly incarcerated and banished to the infamous Black Mana or Mines, an immense lightless subterranean prison deep beneath the capital, where inmates were forced to extract rare volatile mana or under the brutal supervision of guards reinforced with specialized lightning mana. The very air down there tasted of metal, dust, and unending despair. Slaves in the darkness inside the frigid, oppressive or mines. Raven, now clad in tattered, damp prisoner's rags, maintained the cold, chilling defiance in his crimson eyes. He didn't see the mines. He saw the distillation of Leonhardt's tyranny, a forced labor camp built on the bodies and stolen energy of the continent's marginalized. It was here he encountered Kale. Kale was a massive, physically imposing warrior, a man clearly built for the battlefield, but whose spirit had been nearly broken by endless torture and forced silence. He was among the most savagely beaten prisoners, his body a roadmap of imperial cruelty, yet he harbored a fierce, unwavering, quiet loyalty to his fellow inmates. Though unable to speak, Kale communicated a profound, burning hatred for the guards through his desperate actions and his steady, challenging gaze. Raven, with his new instinct, immediately recognized Kale's unbreakable spirit as the critical seed of his future army. "You want freedom, Kale, not just to escape, but to make them pay." Raven projected the thought directly through a thread of shadow mana, a sudden, icy sensation of pure intent bypassing Kale's ears and settling in his mind. Kale met Raven's glowing red eyes, the sheer, ruthless power reflecting in his own broken image. For the first time in years, a flicker of hope, hot and dangerous, ignited within him. He nodded slowly, a deep, silent affirmation that sealed their pact. The uprising was executed on a night of the new moon, providing perfect, impenetrable cover for the forces of darkness. Raven didn't engage in direct, exhaustive slaughter. His goal was strategic annihilation. He used his shadow souls not as blades, but as psychological warfare agents to sow terror and chaos. The dark energy didn't just paralyze the guards, it twisted and corrupted the very lightning mana flowing through their defensive armor, driving them into irrational fits of self-destructive panic. Screaming in confusion, the guards turned their deadly thunder magic upon each other, their power, once a symbol of imperial control, becoming the instrument of their downfall. Raven personally orchestrated the liberation, using focused black mana surges to dissolve the heavy mono-infused shackles, freeing hundreds of volatile, vengeful prisoners. The Black Mana or Mines quickly transformed from a prison into Raven's first secure fortress, a grim subterranean bastion where the pervasive shadow mana was constantly fueled and empowered by the collective rage and residual despair of the enslaved. The scattered black ore piles, the very material of their suffering, were repurposed as defensive walls and weapons. With Kale elevated as his silent, formidable second in command, now permanently linked to receive Raven's directives through thought transfer, Raven began forging the Shadow Legion. They were not glamorous, noble warriors. They were outcasts, the forgotten, scarred physically and mentally by the Empire. Raven didn't demand abstract allegiance. He demanded vengeance's singular, unifying purpose. He promised them a world where power came not from obsolete noble bloodlines or corrupted imperial favor, but from sheer, hardened will and the eternal darkness they now embraced. The reckoning of Darius, the news of the catastrophic mine uprising, and the sheer efficiency of the prison break stunned the Empire and rapidly reached Darius. The Ice Mage had long since ceased working directly alongside Leonhardt, finding the Emperor too volatile. He had established himself as a calculated and cold-hearted governor in a wealthy northern province, maintaining order through ruthless efficiency. When he heard reports of the Black Reaper and the chilling, self-identifying Reborn mark, Darius knew this was not an ordinary rebel. It was a personal failure, a threat to his carefully constructed stability. He personally led an elite, heavily armored battalion boasting the strongest anti-mana defenses to lay siege to the newly fortified mines. "Raven, I know who you are, Aiden. You have become a monster corrupted by the very darkness you swore to fight," Darius bellowed, his voice echoing with calculated authority as massive, enchanted ice barricades sprang up, attempting to completely envelop and seal the mine entrance. Raven stepped out, alone and unhurried, onto a towering hillock of raw black ore. His crimson gaze, now twin beacons of hatred, locked with Darius's icy blue eyes. "The monster is a creation of the betrayer, Darius. You and your greed forged me," Raven retorted, his voice now deeper, resonant, and laced with a chilling power that echoed across the valley, silencing the Imperial troops. The ensuing battle between ice magic and darkness was less a brawl and more a masterclass in elemental warfare, a strategic chess match. Darius, a brilliant tactician, calculated every strike to neutralize Raven's new mana form. He conjured a devastating, overwhelming mana blizzard, attempting to freeze the entire Shadow Legion solid before they could engage. But Raven's black mana was the absolute antithesis of ice magic, absorbing the cold and rendering it inert. His power didn't just nullify mana, it consumed and leached life force from the environment. Raven summoned thousands of shadow souls, the tormented spirits of all those murdered by Leonhardt's regime, and coalesced them into a monstrous, pitch-black scythe of pure spiritual malice. Raven, moving with inhuman speed, shattered the mana blizzard's core, plunging the dark scythe straight through Darius's supposedly impenetrable, specialized monoplated armor. As Darius collapsed, his body already stiffening with the defensive frost of his own magic, Raven did not grant him the quick release of death or the obliteration of his soul. Instead, Raven channeled a tremendous, agonizing surge of intense black mana directly into Darius's circulatory system, locking his soul into his ruined body, trapping him in perpetual agony and servitude. You will not have the luxury of death, Darius. You will serve me as my first general. Every cold, calculating decision you ever made will now be used for a singular purpose: to witness the complete, agonizing destruction of the empire you helped create. Darius was reborn as the Shadow General, a terrifying ice and shadow hybrid entity, eternally bound, devoid of independent will, and fiercely loyal to the vengeful king, the prophet, and the traitor queen. While Raven consolidated his now formidable forces, news from the capital brought him fresh, agonizing bitterness regarding Alina. She had not been crowned the queen Leonhardt promised. Instead, she had ascended to become the saint of the empire. She was venerated across the land as a prophetess, a miracle healer, and the living embodiment of divine favor, tirelessly traveling to heal the emperor's wounded and cementing the populace's unquestioning faith in Leonhardt's new ruthless regime. This position gave her immense, dangerous spiritual power. Alina pura, revered, untouchable. Aiden, Raven, monstrous, hunted, the damned. This stark, agonizing contrast only deepened the darkness in Raven's heart. He understood that Alina was no longer just a target. She was the spiritual anchor of the empire. Raven returned to the transformed mine, now a sprawling, secure subterranean fortress buzzing with the activity of the Shadow Legion. He settled onto the newly forged black iron throne, a grotesque, angular seat carved from the dark mana ore itself. Beside him, Darius stood motionless, a lethal, ice-plated sentinel whose eyes held the emptiness of a trapped soul. He looked out at the vast Shadow Legion training in the perpetual gloom, their movements sharp, their purpose singular. "They stripped me of my humanity and my name," Raven murmured, his voice echoing with terrible finality throughout the enormous cavern. "They made me a monster. If they made me a monster, I will reign as one." Now Leonhardt and Alina knew the Black Reaper was more than just a rumor. He was the thunderous, focused vengeance rising from the deepest shadows, and his next target was the sacred heart of the empire itself.